Good morning, Coach.
That sounds like School of Rock, is it?
I think it is, man. Hey, we break it down here. We have, in fact, Mondays are Metal Mondays when we really get hard hitting. Well, your team was rocking on Monday night, to say the least. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of 12-run innings in softball, but you had one in the second. And it was big. I mean, that was the third game of a 3-game series, the rubber game of a 3-game series against Missouri, and your team needed it, so I know it felt good to get 3 in the first and then really just put the game away in the second inning and just coast from there. But it was a strange inning. I mean, they helped you out a lot. You took advantage of your opportunities, but haven't seen many like that second inning the other night, have you?
No, I haven't. And, we needed to beat a good team soundly. And their pitcher had beaten us Saturday in the first game, so it was kind of, let's see what we can do against a kid the second time around. And I think she only lasted 1 inning. And that was really good to see. We made some good adjustments, and we executed really well in the first inning. And like you said, we took advantage of walks, a hit by pitch, a couple errors, wild pitch, and then you mix in a couple 3-run home runs, and that equals up to a 12-run inning. So it was really fun to see, and I know our team was excited about the future afterwards because we were a confident bunch afterwards.
Yeah, nothing breeds confidence like a 16-run game against a good SEC opponent. I talked Monday morning, having called the doubleheader on Saturday on the SEC Digital Network. Osorio struggled Saturday. She was 0-3 in the SEC. We know what kind of pitcher she is, so that's not the issue, but you're not a one-pitcher club. And I thought Monday morning, after the way Little John had thrown in the second game of that doubleheader, that you might come back with her Monday night. Indeed, you did. What went into that decision?
I think just, and a lot of people didn't realize that Lexi had an injury right before the season started, and she sprained her ankle really bad. It was a high ankle sprain, and that's like one of the worst you can have. So her time in the bullpen with Steph and just practicing has been really minimal. And she's the type of pitcher that she has to have a really good feel, and everything needs to click together. And, kids sometimes go through this too, they're kids. And Sydney gave up the 1 hit, and it was a home run. But I thought she did a really, really good job for the second time in SEC play because she beat LSU on the Saturday too. And then, she didn't throw very many pitches. So I think she only threw 70. And it was just, she earned it. And then she came back and she did almost the exact same thing. She gave up basically a home run to the same kid. And obviously we supported her a lot. But I thought, again, she did really, really well. And I know Lexi will be back, bigger, better, stronger. And I'm not real concerned about it. But like you said, you need to have a staff, especially this year in this league. And, she kind of picked up the pieces and put everybody on her back and said, okay, let's do this. And Maddie Moore actually pitched well, too, on Saturday. So
sure did.
It was fun to see a freshman get in, the SEC play for the first time. And, the role of the reliever when I put him in, and I give him the ball and I say, okay, leave the score the same. And sometimes, like Sydney, her freshman year, the bases would be loaded, and there'd be 1 out, and she'd get out of it. And Maddie did the same thing. So the score stayed the same. I think she pitched 2 1/3, and it was, 7-3 when she entered, and it was 7-3 when she exited. So she did her job. Sydney did her job, and we'll get Lexi back. And hopefully this weekend will be a turning point for her.
More on this weekend coming up because we know how big it's going to be. But a perfect time, too, for the bats to start cranking, particularly with the power. Runyon looks like she's turning it on. And this freshman you've got, Reagan Dykes, I mean, it's difficult enough for a freshman to come in and just catch, just to handle the pitching staff, to do what you need to do defensively, to catch in this league. But to hit the way she's hitting, I mean, obviously you knew she was a good player. You wouldn't have signed her. But did you have any inkling that Reagan Dykes was going to step into the SEC and do what she's doing?
Well, we were hoping so because, all fall, we practiced for about 30 days. And honestly, she was the best hitter for 30 days. And so when the season started, when we went down to Orlando, I put her in the 3 spot because I thought she earned it. And unfortunately, it was, maybe a little too soon for that, but she went 0 for the weekend. And then the next 2 games, she was 0 for those 2 games. And then I moved her down to 5th and still didn't get a hit. And so you know the best motivator, right?
That bench sitting next to you.
Yep. So she sat for 2 games when we went over to Atlanta. And then she hit, like, her first home run, got a couple doubles. And, you know, I've been trying to ease her back up into that spot. But right now I think she found a home in maybe the 6th, 7th spot. Because out in California she hit 500 and did really well. But I really thought she'd be a good hitter, and she's got a very, very fundamentally sound swing. There's nothing wrong with it. And basically, when it comes down to it, it's just like a golfer or a baseball player or a softball player. How does she feel about herself? And, you know, you can have the best swing in the world and still hit 100 because your mental game is not very good. And right now, I think she's feeling good about herself. And if we can get 3, 4, 5, and 6 to hit at the same time, that's like one of the keys to me, because I know Haley's going to get on and Chandler's going to get on, and then the people behind them. And Runyon had a really good quote after the game on Monday night. She said, you know, I figured somebody would be on. I wanted to get the first RBIs. And, you know, she's just that type of kid. You know, she wants to get that first RBI, and she hit the home run against, I guess it was the second game when it was the 9-1, but she had a 2-run home run in the first inning. Because I think Haley was at third base with 1 out and hit straightaway center field. So it's good to see her hit. And then Leona, we need to get Peyton back to where she can, you know, do some damage. And then Reagan. So those 4 are very, very key to our success.
Yeah, you're going to need everybody hitting this weekend, Coach, and I know you're aware of that. Alabama doesn't get to play the underdog role very often anymore, but you will this weekend. And knowing you, I get the impression you're kind of relishing this opportunity to go to Florida. And there's pressure because, I mean, you're trying to get the same thing they're trying to get. But from the standpoint of the media hype and from the outside looking in, most of the pressure's on Florida. They're at home. They're the number 1 ranked team. They're going for 3 in a row. They've been dominant. So you got a chance to kind of go in there and spoil the party a little bit.
Definitely, and that's the attitude we're taking, because, you know, I still consider myself and the team the underdog no matter who we play, really. And I think you play with a chip on your shoulder when you think that way, but it's everything's on their shoulders, really. You know, like you said, they're playing at home. They're number 1. They're 33-1, I think, in the overall. Auburn's the only team that beat them. They had some really good games with LSU this past weekend, though, in Baton Rouge. The second game went 9 innings, and LSU had tons of opportunities. And I told the team yesterday, that's the key. You know, if we get people at second or third, we can't strand 6 or 7. We've got to score them. And they've got 3 good pitchers. They got a junior, a sophomore, and a freshman, just like us. Their junior's the lefty. They got 1 lefty, 2 righties, just like us. It's, you know, they've got some good numbers in stolen bases. Their power is down a little bit this year. I'm not sure why, but still, they've got really good athletes at every position. Their team defense is very, very good. They're winning on pitching and defense this year. You know, they've got the lowest ERA in the conference and one of the highest defensive fielding percentages. So it's gonna come down to who gets the key hit, I think, and we got to stay in the ball game as long as we can and see if we can get that key hit.
I know you'd love to have Demi Turner for this series because you talk about somebody that is a spark plug for your team. But I want to ask you about Chandler Dare, local product from American Christian Academy. We've talked about her before, but that's not easy to step in for a player of Turner's caliber, even though Chandler's a good player in her own right. But she has really not only hit for you, but defensively, I mean, there's been a little bit of a mistake here and there. She's been late to the bag a couple times, just some things that she'll get better at. But defensively, she's done okay for you there, hasn't she?
Yeah, Gary, it's like you were sitting in our team meeting yesterday. Because I told the team the exact same thing is, you know, like when somebody goes down, we try not to do the win one for the Kipper speech for the girl that's going to take her spot. You know, you got to do everything and more that Demi has done for us. You know, that's unfair to both kids, really. So we never really said that to Chandler. But in my mind, I was thinking, Chandler can do what she's been doing, and she was hitting like 395, but only like one more person add in a walk or a hit throughout the whole lineup. Doesn't have to be two, just one more walk or one more hit. We've kind of equaled what Demi was doing, because she was hitting about 445, and her on-base percentage was over 500. And you're right, Chandler has done probably even more than what we thought she would. She's been great in the 2 spot. She's, like you said, that's the only negative for me too was she was late to the bag on a steal. She's done everything and more, and it's tough to have a kid, because we switched her back and forth in the fall,
right,
from infield to outfield. It's like every other day, and then when the season started, she strictly went to the outfield. So it had been like probably 3 weeks before she had a ground ball. And as soon as Demi went down, and during the game at LSU, she bounced in from right field and went to second base. And I think one of the key plays in that game was a hard shot up the middle that she fielded and threw the girl out. The bases were loaded. So she really, really got tested, like right off the bat. And she's proved her worth a lot. And she's added value to the team just by, doing many, many things. And, we knew she was a versatile player, because she could play all 3 outfield and really all 3 infield positions other than the first. And she's been very, very valuable.
Patrick Murphy, our guest here on the Bud Light Hotline on the Gary Harris Show. As you said, you're a chip on your shoulder guy. You always want your team to feel like they've got something to prove. At the same time, you're also a big picture coach, in that this program is about getting to Oklahoma City. And regardless of what happens in Gainesville, you're going to continue the season. You're not going to stop it right there. How do you balance going in there with letting it all hang out for a weekend, knowing what's at stake, and at the same time, good or bad, knowing that you've got to come back and you've got Mississippi State next weekend and A&M the weekend after that and Kentucky the weekend after that and South Carolina the weekend after that and Georgia the weekend after that? What's that like from a coaching standpoint, that, this is a big series, but it is still just one of many series in this conference? How do you keep it in its proper context?
Well, we always say playing in the SEC is a marathon, not a sprint. And not one series isn't going to make or break you. And you just add them all up to 24 games instead of, one big series. And it's the old cliche of playing one at a time. And, like you just said, all those teams that you mentioned have either been ranked or receiving votes all year. So it's not like Florida's the only one that's ranked. And we got a really tough schedule this year in the SEC, because basically everybody that we play this year has been ranked. So you can't, you definitely don't overlook it, and you don't look past, and you just, majorly zero in on Florida one at a time. We're probably going to see all 3 pitchers that they have, so you got to make adjustments on the fly and just see what you can do against them. And, pull out all the stops, hit and run, slap and run, squeeze, whatever you need to do to get a couple games, and then move on to the next one. And because if you put, and you're right, we would rather peak in late May and June than March 30th. And that's been our theme from the very, very beginning. I think that's why we've been to 10 World Series, is it wasn't just Auburn versus Alabama, and that was the series, the end-all, be-all. It was the entire season, and then to peak at the right time. And I think for the most part we've done that.
And finally, and this is something we've discussed as well before, but this is another example of just how big collegiate softball has gotten. It's a Final Four weekend coming up for men's and women's basketball. Major League Baseball is going to get cranked up on Sunday. Huge sporting events all over but this is a national event. People around the country are talking about Alabama and Florida, this SEC softball series. That's a testament to just how this sport has just exploded all over the country.
Yeah, now that you say that, it is crazy, because the Saturday game was on ESPN too. We were on SEC Network, and they moved us to a bigger channel.
There you go, yeah.
So in the middle of, you're right, the Final Fours and Major League Baseball, so it's kind of cool that we get to be on ESPN too on Saturday afternoon.
Well, good luck, Coach. It's a big series, but I know you'll have them ready to go.
Hey, and will I see you Tuesday night?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for having me on, Gary.